Yeah, I can send it to you when we're done.
Perfect. Alright, perfect. Alright, so, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get...
Just one thing.
What, you want me to do, like, an intro?
Nah, just, no, nah,
Or
we're
just
good.
start on the fights?
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, well, intro here. Here's the intro. I'm in New York, and, my knowledge friends in LA. So, my perhaps more knowledgeable friend, GoodNoodleMMA, has, agreed to, help me out with, my, prediction video, um, which is going to be our prediction video, since, assuming we have at least, two disagreements, if not more, on this card. Um, so yeah, man. So let's let's go.
All
Starting
right.
with
So, first fight on the card is Tagir Ulanbekov versus Clayton Carpenter, and I will be taking Clayton Carpenter.
um. So I'm gonna be taking Tagir Ulanbekov now. My my logic for that being Clayton Carpenter has he has quite a few you know uh, submissions, I'll say, that are impressive, including knee bar, knee LFA. I don't know how much of his regional career you've seen. Probably a bit, right?
I've seen a couple of his regional fights, but the win that really impressed me was against Lucas Rocha. The dude was 17-1 when he fought him, and I know he's not 17-1 in the UFC necessarily, but he has a lot of professional experience. You know, he won on the Contender Series. He won in LFA. He has a bunch of experience on the regional scene, and I rate his experience. And um, Clayton won the first round, and then he choked him out in the second. So
Yeah,
I think that's very telling. And if you look at who Tagir who's has lost to, I kind of put an asterisk next to his loss because I'm not gonna lie, I rewatched most of the fight against Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott was fucking cheating like a motherfucker in that fight. He grabbed his gloves multiple times. He poked him in the eyes, I believe, at least like once or twice, and it was just a fucking mess. Like, I mean, I think
there's
he got
there's
caught grabbing his gloves like 6 times or something like that. Never got like a point deducted. So
no, yeah, now the thing with Tajir Ulanbekov is he started the Cody Durden staircase, um, to which was then climbed by Bruno Silva and yet even again by Joshua Van most recently. All of whom, I did, I've never thought Cody Durden was worth much. Nate Maness in his day, was a different story. He went on to knock out Mendonça, um, you know, and he finished Jimmy Flick. Now, Jimmy Flick, not the most formidable opponent, but think about Ulanbekov. Um, now you can say that, Clayton Carpenter is the new blood. Now that he's had two UFC fights, um, you know, both of which were submissions. Um, Juan Camilo Ronderos, so I mean, he was submitted by Dvorak before that. Um, I think that Clayton Carpenter, Clayton Carpenter on Rocha. I just don't. I don't find that win to be, you know, the the victory that I mean, because if you look at Rocha's record, um, I mean, he had he had a few regional promotions that were noteworthy, but really his biggest win, the one that got him in the Contender Series fight, was an LFA unanimous decision win.
Yeah.
His only fight in the LFA. Um, the rest of the regional promotions he was in, some of them, some of them being not nothing, but it's really LFA where that's more of a launching pad, and I think that you know I just like I liked his knockout against Bittencourt on the Contender Series, but I mean Rocha is a guy with no grappling defense. I mean, when I say no grappling defense, I mean, when you get to the higher levels of things, I mean, you know, Carpenter is a grappler, and the competition he's faced. Well, I mean, yeah, it's impressive that he entered the actual UFC, 6-0, and has maintained that undefeated record. I just don't think that, you know, against Ulanbekov, who's far more seasoned, who, I mean, yes, he's 5 years older. He's got an inch of height on him, which really doesn't mean shit. But the 2-inch reach advantage at flyweight matters, I think, because you're dealing with two high level grapplers. You're dealing with a guy who really is, I mean, he's top shelf. When it comes to grappling, I think that Carpenter is gonna have problems. And I think he's gonna have problems that he's never faced before. Um, I mean, the fight against Rocha. I mean, Rocha is a guy who Rocha's
Oh,
primarily. I mean, he's really a striker. And I mean, Clayton Carpenter, you know, I mean, his jiu-jitsu is very much on point, but I mean, Ulanbekov, I mean, his wrestling is undeniable, and his UFC experience, um, being what 5 UFC fights, um, where he really, I mean, and in his two losses in his mixed martial arts career, um, you know, Fight Night's Global. He lost a majority decision in a Fight Night's Global fight, and that was for a belt. He came right into the UFC after two submission wins, both in the second round. And he had to adjust. He split decision, unanimous decision. He lost to Tim Elliott. The Tim Elliott fight was, as you said, um,
Tim Elliott grabbed his gloves like 8 times and never
grabbed
got a
his
point
gloves a
deducted.
lot. There was a fence grab, I believe, and I mean, and then he followed that up with a first round submission and second round submission against Cody Durden, and this was not the Cody Durden that you know that even Bruno Silva came to knock out, or you know, or the Bruno or the Cody Durden that Joshua Van was able to defeat.
I don't really rate Cody Durden as a win because his most relevant win recently is Matt Schnell, and it's like, welcome to the club. You beat Matt Schnell. Congratulations. Like,
Yeah,
Matt Schnell
no, of
is
course.
so obviously on his way out, you know?
And that's recently, but what you have to remember is that that was after Bruno Silva knocked him out, and which was itself after Ulanbekov submitted him. Before that, Cody
Yeah.
Durden was on a 4-fight win streak, including a first round knockout, and 3 unanimous decisions. His losses in the UFC before that were to Muhammad Mikhail by submission, which you know, which does
Yeah.
make sense. He fought Chris Gutierrez to a draw. And I think that win definitely, given the time in Cody Durden's career, you know, coming off, like I said, a 4-fight win streak, including a first round knockout, does definitely somewhat speak volumes. There's a bit of inactivity on Ulanbekov's part.
Yeah, he's out for
uh,
like a year about.
yeah, a bit over a year, yeah. But I just think that Ulanbekov's grappling is superior to anything Carpenter's ever. I mean, I'll be honest. I think that Carpenter has been able to be a superior grappler largely against strikers, and at least in the UFC.
It's just that
And
in the fight with Cody Durden before, and I hate using this argument, but before Cody Durden lost the fight and got choked out, he was landing on Ulanbekov. I rewatched the first round, and before he got dropped by Ulanbekov, he was landing on him. He was tagging him. There are openings, and I will say I think Clayton probably sees that and is probably training a lot of striking leading up into this fight. I don't think he needs to necessarily worry about the grappling too much. He's got really good grappling. So,
I don't know. I think yeah. I mean, I just think that Ulanbekov, you know, just out wrestles him to the ground, and and has the edge. But
that's our first disagreement. I've got Carpenter. He's got Ulanbekov. Do you want to move up to
yeah,
the next fight?
definitely. I'm taking Ulanbekov.
I'm
Good
taking
noodles.
Carpenter.
Carpenter.
All right, next fight
Yeah.
would be Turcios versus Sopaj. Who do you have?
Um, I want it so badly for Turcios, just because I hate it.
Do you hate Sopaj?
I did. I
Why?
had well, not so much as I love my Albanian killing, my Albanian killing Vinicius Oliveira. Um, but yeah, Sopaj, um, you know, he, well, let's talk about Turcios first of all. It's very difficult for me to pick Turcios. Um, I think that he has looked like shit against,
Raul
um,
Rosas.
absolutely. Um,
Well, he almost choked
really,
out Raul Rosas. It's just Raul Rosas' chin should be banned from the sport because that's got to be an unfair advantage to have that big of a fucking chin, because Turcios could not get under his chin when he, because I believe in the first round he almost had a rear naked choke on him, but fucking Raul Rosas' chin is just so massive that he couldn't get under, and he couldn't get the proper angle for the choke.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, and that was a close fight until it wasn't.
Yeah.
I would say that I would say that both split decisions that Turcios has won were not robberies. Um, but you know, he does have the ability to submit people. Came two UFC fights. He fought for a title and did get knocked out. But he also won a submission by armbar, which got him his Ultimate Fighter fight. And yeah, I mean, that decision was relatively, um, decisive. Um,
Also,
but
Zahabi isn't a bad loss. Zahabi's ranked right now, you know?
yes, yes.
And I'd say the
But
same with Raul Rosas, because he's on his way to being ranked. So the two losses he does have in the UFC are aging well. Like, Raul Rosas is a good prospect and fighter.
yeah, he also barely lost I mean, it was a 29-28. Um, he was outstruck. I'm not gonna say that was a robbery to Zahavi, but it was a 29-28 where you know, uh, it had to do with being outstruck. Really, just in one round.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that the Brady Highstand fight. That was another one where you know let me see. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a split decision. That I thought. I mean, Tercios had a knockdown. He outstruck him. You know, and the fact that anyone had that. I mean, there was control. There were takedowns and control time for Brady Highstand, but I really. I mean, Highstand had the one round. I did not see that being a split decision.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then what was it? It was Kevin. Kevin Muhammad or however the fuck you say it. Yeah. So this was another one where you know uh, Tercios outstruck him. Um, and you know Kevin Natividad had he had his one round of control time. Tercios had he had a knockdown. Tercios had a submission attempt. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there was a round where he was more or less saved by the fucking bell.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, the thing with Sopaj, um, is that Sopaj basically, the Brave FC fights, you know, he has a win and a loss. Um, his most of his regional stuff has been, you know, very. I mean, outside of Brave FC, um, has been, yeah, has been mostly trash.
This is honestly a fight that'll like prove to us if he's actually really good, in my opinion, because we just haven't seen enough of him in the UFC against higher competition. And this could honestly be a fraud check for Turcios, if I'm being real. It kind of does have that feeling to it.
Project for him.
Yeah, I think Turcios could fraud check Sopaj because Sopaj is a right now, at least on Tapology, he's a minus 355 favorite, and Turcios is a plus 270 underdog. And if Turcios wins, this could be a fraud check. I think that, like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Vinicius Oliveira fight, I believe it was 1-1 going into the third round, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know,
Yeah.
it was
Oh
decently
yeah.
competitive. Like, he's good. It's just he kind of just, I wouldn't say he got caught necessarily, but he kind of did just get caught. Like, I think he lost focus. Like, if you look at the exchange with the flying knee, it kind of looked like he had gotten hit by something big by Oliveira, and then he kind of like backs away towards the cage, and then next thing he knows, he gets flying knee knocked out. Like, I think he just lost focus for a moment, you know, which
I
you can't
mean,
do at high level.
I don't know that he necessarily lost focus. I think that Oliveira came into the second round and rocked him a lot.
Hmm.
And then third round, I think he was winning the third round, but that flying knee was, just perfectly executed. Um, I think that Tercios' height and his, you know, and his grappling ability, where Sopaj is, I mean, Sopaj has not had I mean, he very early on in his career, he's got a couple of submissions, um, but, you know, he's mainly a striker, um, and, you know, I don't think, I think that, against a taller opponent, um, yeah, I mean, against a taller opponent, Tercios is a 3-inch height advantage to go with a 5-inch reach advantage. I think that, I mean, I really think that Tercios takes him to the ground. I think that Turcios has a bit of a speed advantage too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I might regret this, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna take Ricky Turcios.
I'm going to take Sopaj, maybe a round 2 or 3 knockout, but I think officially on Tapology, I'm going with decision.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving up the card, it is
Mm-hmm.
Nakamura versus Gafurov. I don't have much to say about this fight because I'm not going to lie, I don't remember too much of either of these guys' fights, but I'm just going to go with the undefeated star from Japan, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if it's a close fight, do you really think they're going to give it to Gafurov? They want to do a UFC Japan so badly. They have Tsuruya, they have Taira, they have Asakura. They kind of have their main cards set up, you know, and if Nakamura wins this in impressive fashion, he could be getting like a ranked opponent, and then they could throw that on like a Japan card along with a bunch of other like maybe Japanese prospects that they end up signing, do another like road to UFC kind of thing. But I think I could see a close decision going to Nakamura because, they want to do UFC Japan so badly.
Yeah, I think that Nakamura, Raul Rosas Jr., and Peyton Talbot all at bantamweight need ranked opponents after these fights.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, I think, and yeah, dude, I'm gonna take Nakamura. Um, his coming off road to UFC, which, as far as tough, um, contender series and road to UFC go, road to UFC is definitely the hardest.
I agree.
Um, and you know, and yeah, man. I mean, I think that it's people act like Nakamura's Nakamura's last fight was I mean, it was a 30-20. I mean, Nakamura came into the UFC with a 32-second KO against
Hold on.
And
There you go. You're back. It cut out for a second.
from my
You all right? You good?
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I mean, he has knockout power, and the Vera fight. I mean, Carlos Vera was impressive with scrambles. Um, as was Fernie Garcia, but Fernie Garcia, that was another unanimous decision win, 30-27s and 30-26.
Yeah.
I mean, Nakamura just you know it was
Kind of
he's
walked through him.
yeah. So I mean I'm gonna go with Rinya Nakamura, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't really have much to add about this fight. I'm gonna pick Nakamura, but yeah, Gafurov is also, he's kind of trying to stabilize the trajectory of his career after losing his first two fights in the UFC. And I just trust Nakamura to kind of, I don't know, just go in and win this. I think he'll probably, if I had to guess, I'd say it comes down to the grappling maybe, and I think Nakamura is just going to outdo him. So.
Alright.
All right, up the card, we got, oh God, fucking women's MMA. Karol Rosa versus Ailin Perez. I think I'm choosing Ailin Perez.
Really?
My main reasons being I don't really care too much about women's MMA, especially at like the lower, not to say the lower end of it, not to trying to be disrespectful, but like I don't really care too much about women's MMA unless if it's like Miranda Maverick. I care about that. She's a pretty good prospect. I liked Kayla Harrison coming into the UFC. I think she's gonna make it interesting, and I think she deserves a title shot. Other than that, Macy Chesson, yeah, I'll look out for her. But Ailin Perez, I think I'm picking her based off the fact that she's kind of on a win streak right now, and she's a little bit more active than Karol Rosa, and Karol Rosa is kind of win one, lose one right now. So I think this is the type of fight that Ailin Perez could walk away with. I'm going to say decision, but, maybe a submission. Who knows?
Dude, that last submission was against absolute nobody. I would say that I'm going to take Karol Rosa. I mean, you say inactive, but it was only last August that she,
I only say inactive because of, if you look at the fights before that, it was 2 years and 2 months ago, then a year and 8 months ago, year and 6 months, a year ago before that. She's kind of like taking, I'd say, like 6-month periods off,
Well, and it's about how often they can fight a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think I'm just going with Ailin Perez because I think she's also kind of a star. I could see a close decision going to her because she has that thing where she like twerks after every fight and everybody goes nuts for it. I never really understood it, but yeah, I don't know. I think she's a bit of a star in the women's bantamweight division. So.
Really don't understand that.
Is what it is. But
yeah. I'm gonna go with Carol Rosa. Just you know,
Yeah.
um, yeah. I'm gonna take Carol Rosa. Her last fight against Penny Kianzad was an absolute fucking. I mean, 30-27. I mean, there was one round where she took her down and basically controlled her completely.
Yeah.
Um, her striking was on point. I feel like her you know now at bantamweight they are the same height, which is 5'5", which you could argue is short for bantamweight.
Mhm.
Um, the losses that she's had, um, you know, um, Rinya Aldana, you know, sort of barely beat her. Um, that was a fight that was completely on the feet.
Yeah.
Um, I really don't understand uh, how it was that. I mean, I'm gonna go so far as to call that fight a robbery. Um,
Mhm.
you know, outstruck by almost twice. Um, like, it was, yeah. I mean that. I mean the Norman Dumont loss made sense, but I mean, her Rosa's UFC experience. I mean, she 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 came into the UFC off of um let's see. Oh yeah, she not Invicta, but some of her Chris Cyborg had that promotion for a while, and you know she teaming off that with the MMA Brutus with an arm triangle.
Yeah.
Um, and then in the UFC, I mean, she started her UFC career split decision over Lara Procopio, which is what it is. She won that, but 4-fight win streak. Lena, it was Sarah McMahon that first beat her. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, and Sarah McMahon. One thing about her, I mean, she basically. I mean that was a fight where Sarah McMahon kind of wrestle fucked her, um, and you know those types of fights are you know it happens. The only victory or the only loss that I would say Cara Rosa legitimately suffered was against Norma Dumont. It was
Yeah.
a very close fight. She had a knockdown. She, and Cara Rosa, or Norma Dumont rather, um, took Rosa down, had a lot of ground control, and that won her around. There was an incredibly decisive um, round for Carol Rosa, which no
Yeah.
one could ignore. And, it was really down to, I believe, the third round. So, I mean, the losses that she's had are not, I mean, I would go so far as to call her most recent one against Aldana a robbery.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, now, Ailin Perez did get that last submission, but it was against like your fight against Krudilova, for example, was very far from you know, decisive. I think, I mean, I think, Krudilov, they gave, I mean, there's a 29-27, which, I think, Krudilov may have had a point taken. I'm trying to remember.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, but Krudilov almost submitted her. Um, Ailin Perez, despite background in kung fu and everything, like she she really doesn't have what I'd call you know much much actual grappling.
Yeah.
I mean, not well, compared to Carol Rosa. But yeah, man, I'm gonna take Carol Rosa.
I'll take Perez, but I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't give a fuck about this fight. But it is what it is. Up the card, Zachary Reese versus Azamat Bekoev. A lot of people are fucking picking Bekoev. And he is a favorite, which is kind of crazy. I get it. He's LFA champion. It looks like he has a lot of fights in LFA. Let me double check this. I think
Yeah, he does.
I'm gonna pick Reese though, because I do think that he does kind of have slick jujitsu. Like I've rewatched a lot of his fights, like with his Contender Series win and a couple of his wins in Fury. Albeit against somebody who was 5-10, but at the time of him beating him. And I also don't like the fact that he's lost to Cody Brundage, but I rewatched that fight and it kind of was a fluke. He did kind of just slam him and knock him out cold. So.
I agree. Yeah. Hey, my friend just got home, but anyway. So, alright, so yeah, I'm gonna take Reese as well. I think he honestly, people act like the Julian Markar's fucking knockout was nothing. I mean, Markar's changed with Strickland. You know,
Yeah.
He's no joke. Zachary Reese is, I mean, there's a 20-second first round knockout. And I think against Medina, um, you know, you had a really, Zachary Reese just, I mean, he could he could have outstruck him. I think that he was trying to put wrestling on display.
Yeah.
Against Medina. I mean, he almost submitted him. Um, I don't think. I think Medina did give him more of a fight than he had expected. But and I think he would have killed Serghei Mase.
I think so too.
But um, oh yeah, you're good. Yeah, and against. Against now, it's like you have a lot of these people coming even off of promotions like LFA and off of Ryzen. I think and we'll get to this further up the card. Off of one fight championship, who that first fight in the octagon is very telling. You know, like there's a lot of people that if they can even win that first fight.
Yeah.
Like a Navajo Sterling,
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're gonna see more of like what you've seen with them prior to that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've got Reese, and you said you also have Reese.
Yeah.
Okay. Um.
100%.
All right. Up the card then. Um. Looks like Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira. So, oh wait, hold on, you're cutting out. What the heck? Oh, we lost him. You're back.
Yeah, what's up?
Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira. I want to pick Diego here. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of does reek of a Diego Ferreira win. He might chin Dawson, but I am going with Dawson because the thing about Diego right now is he is 40 years old, and it's kind of like I feel like he's on his way out, and but it is like it is very winnable for him because in his last fight he beat Rebecki, who went on to beat Oralbly. As much as people will say it's a robbery and Oralbly should have won and whatnot, he did have a very competitive fight with Oralbly, who's this up and coming prospect. And Diego Ferreira has been around for a while. He fought Poirier. Like a lot of people forget this, that he fought Poirier back in the day. But I think that Grant Dawson's only real loss right now is to Bobby Green, which also doesn't help my argument in picking Grant Dawson. But I think Grant Dawson is probably going to play this one safe and probably try and shoot takedowns.
Bro, had he shot a takedown on Bobby Green instead of, I mean, he made the same mistake Bryce Mitchell did against Josh Emmett.
Yeah, he didn't want it to be boring for the fans, I'm pretty sure it was his reasoning. Is he was like, yeah, I don't want to be boring for the fans. And then that kind of like offset his career a little bit because a lot of people were like, yeah, this guy's going to be the next guy at 155. Like, after he beats Bobby Green, he gets ranked. And then after he gets ranked, we're looking at interesting matchups for him. And then, he lost to Bobby Green because he wanted to be entertaining. And it's just kind of like in pursuit of being entertaining and whatnot, not wrestle fucking Bobby Green. He kind of had to go win too, and now I think the winner of this is going to be looking at like a Yoel Alvarez or like a Jailton Turner, if anything.
Well, he is ranked actually now.
No, he's I thought he got unranked after Jailton Turner, or not Jailton Turner. Yoel Alvarez took his ranking, I think. Yeah, Yoel Alvarez took his ranking spot after he beat was it Drakkar Close?
You could check that, dude.
Yeah,
I believe Grant Dawson is ranked.
he was ranked, but after Yoel Alvarez knocked out what's his face, he got
Oh yeah,
ranked above him.
Joel Alvarez is a beast.
Yeah, I like Alvarez. I think Alvarez. Here's the thing about him is,
Dude, I had him beating Banner.
yeah,
I had, dude. He just he can't not finish people.
I know and that's what I like about him. I think he's a lot of people make this comparison. I think it's one of the only fair comparisons. Is a lot of people are comparing him to Charles Oliveira because like, dude, he's so deadly on the feet. Like he put out I think his last fight was Drakkar Close. Let me double check this.
Yeah, it was Drakkar Close.
Yeah, and then he after putting him out on the feet, he immediately kind of jumps this guillotine and then starts fucking punching him in the face on top of like kind of having him in a guillotine position. Like he has really good finishing instinct in my opinion. Like I think he's really good.
I mean, yeah. Also, he knows how to be that size at that division.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he wouldn't like Orlovai defeated a sprinter by decision,
Mm-hmm.
and Alvarez just ended it. It
Yeah.
was after I mean, his kicks are insane. But anyway, Grant Dawson though. I mean, against Rafa Garcia in the Royval Tyrant card. I mean, it was. I mean, and he decimated Turcios.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a very impressive fight. Um, yeah. I mean, I think that. I mean, yeah, that was. I don't know which. Oh, this was on the card with the corrupt judge. Um, but yeah, that was a 30-27. Probably that same judge gave 1 round to Slacky.
Was that the
But
same guy who made Paulo Costa versus Strickland a fucking split decision?
yeah, and Kabulov versus
Almeida.
Almeida.
I know,
And
like, a lot of people were saying that those were close fights. Like, I feel like I'm being gaslit by the MMA community. I'm like, those were not close fights. I had Kopylov clearly winning 2-1, and I also had Strickland winning. I had him 5-0, but I can understand an argument for 4-1. Because I think I believe it was like maybe the first round where Costa was just chewing up Strickland's lead leg, and he was being busy with the calf kicks. But other than that, like every other round, like I swear Costa had gotten like maybe caught off balance, or was it just dropped like
well,
almost every round?
it was a 50-45 Strickland, 49-46 Strickland, and then a 49-46 for Costa. There was one judge that gave it to Costa.
No fucking idea
Or
how do you score that for fucking Paulo Costa? Like I'm wondering if like he's just drunk or like what the fuck is happening. That judge probably had Dustin Poirier up if he was working the main event. Like I don't know. It was
yeah.
crazy.
But anyway, yeah, dude. I'm gonna take Grant Dawson.
Me too.
Um, you know, I think that. I mean, I think that Diego Ferreira.
He's just
I
too
mean,
old.
he's old. I mean, knocking out Michael Johnson is not, anything. I mean, the Rebecca knockout, you know, if I remember correctly, um,
It was just ground and pound. Like he had been bulldozing him the entire fight, and then finally got it to a point. It was like a pity TKO if I remember it correctly, where it's kind of just like, yeah, he's not like out cold, but he's kind of like not defending himself. So we'll just give this guy the knockout, if I remember
yeah.
correctly.
The thing is, dude, he was down 2 rounds.
Yeah. So he would have
Going
won
into
either way.
No, I'm saying he was down 2 rounds. Like
Oh,
Ferreira.
Ferreira was. I thought I remember. I can't remember exactly, but I swear he was. Cause he had fucking swollen Rebecca's eye. I think, unless if I'm thinking of a different fight where it was somewhat even and Rebecca, just kind of, you know, got fucked up in the last round. I don't know. I have trouble remembering fights if they're longer than like 5 months ago.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I'm gonna go Grant Dawson.
Yeah, Grant Dawson for sure. All right. So Bogdan Guskov versus Billy Elekana.
This reeks of a fucking Guskov first round knockout in my opinion, and I had him first round knockout against Johnny Walker as well, um, because Johnny Walker just needs to fucking move up to heavyweight and fight like Marcin Tybura or something.
Yeah.
But I think Guskov's gonna make it fast, you know.
Yeah. Last year, so I mean, he came in and was submitted came into the UFC, but against Paluga, that first round knockout against Paluga, which is like what I mean, you know, you have
Yeah.
to expect from anybody that you rate. But then against Ryan, I had him beating Ryan Spen, which is what got him ranked. Spen was um, ranked at the time. I mean, him going up to heavyweight is definitely a move. But I mean, I had him beating Johnny Walker by first or second round KO. Span being almost as tall as Walker. Um, yeah. I'd go so far as to say Span a bit better fighter.
I'll also say, like, as far as Billy goes, I don't want to shit on him too hard, but if you're going to split decisions with people in the PFL, where PFL has some good fighters, and so does Bellator. At the top of their sport, they have good fighters. If you're not at the top of the sport, the fighters there are kind of just mid. And if you're taking them to split decisions, that's kind of just a red flag. To be fair, I haven't watched the fight. It could have been like a Strickland Costa situation where it was a split and it shouldn't have been a split decision. But still, like, what that tells me is that you're making it competitive with guys who otherwise wouldn't even see the UFC, at PFL. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
his LFA career, which was, you know, he fought 3 times, won a unanimous decision, had a knockout, lost a split decision, but never for the belt. Um, you know, and he fought for the most part at 185. This kind of his last fight was was this last July. I mean, the PFL fights were in 2023. They got a first round knockout in LXF, which is like an emerging promotion.
Yeah.
Um, and coming off that, like, short notice. I mean, Guskov's first opponent, you know, uh, who's actually an inch shorter than him. With an inch, Elekana has an inch and a half reach advantage, but the reality is, like, you know, Bogdan Guskov is kind of a fucking animal. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, he, he, I just don't see him losing. I mean,
It is like a opponent change and whatnot, and it's like a short notice opponent change, but I don't think it's gonna matter too much. I think we're gonna see like levels in this fight. I've got Guskov early rounds knockout.
yeah, me too. Bogdan Guskov beats fucking Billy Almeida.
Elekana, that's how you say it. Yeah. And then Jailton Almeida versus Serghei Spivac. I have Jailton Almeida round 2 submission. The fat guy strangler from Family Guy is basically Jailton Almeida. I just don't see Spivac like winning this. I think Almeida's probably stronger than him, has better cardio, is probably just better everywhere than Serghei Spivac. No hate to Spivac. Spivac's a cool dude, but
Well, Spivak, I mean, so one thing I will say, I mean, Spivak isn't Romanov. I mean, I think that Almeida was punished a bit by being given Alexander Romanov after losing to Curtis Blades. However, like, and but the what you don't see at heavyweight is somebody whose jujitsu is so on point and also has the like power that he does to just drag people to the ground and submit
yeah.
them. Now he miscalculated when it came to Kurt. I mean, if you remember the first round against Blades,
He was kind of just
he
throwing blades around, kind of failing takedowns and then getting them, and Blades was kind of just sitting there looking at the clock like, is this guy actually going to fucking do anything with his takedowns? That's what I remember from the first round of him versus
Well,
Curtis Blades.
he had good. Yeah, sure. Thank you. So what I was saying is, basically, I would say that, Almeida was, was actually, I mean, he was ragdolling Blades in the
Yeah.
first round. To be honest, you know, he was in the second as well, but Blades man back himself up against the cage, and you know, Almeida continuously was trying to pull him out, you know,
Yeah.
and pull him out from the cage, thinking that he could handle his Blades' elbows, you know,
Yeah.
and that was a manipulation, and he definitely paid for that. But at the same time, I mean, you know, Serghei Spivac is lighter than any opponent that Hamid has ever faced.
Mhm.
Um, I think Spivac is a bit more dangerous in a few ways than people are giving him credit for, but at the same time, um, I just don't see Hamid losing. It's
Yeah,
just, you know,
I think Almeida's going to win his next he's going to win this fight and maybe another one, and then they're going to make him versus Aspinall at some point in the future. But the heavyweight
yeah.
division kind of is clogged up because John Jones is going to pretend that he's interested in an Aspinall fight and then sit out for a year. So,
I don't think so. I think that fight happened.
do
Things
you think
happen.
John Jones is fighting Aspinall?
Of course.
I hope so. But yeah, I got Almeida round 2 submission. Probably I honestly see like a rear naked choke or like an arm triangle choke maybe. I don't know. Maybe a
I
decision.
don't know. Possibly a decision. Maybe maybe around one or two submission. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean yeah.
All right. And then this next fight, we don't even really have to spend too much time on it. I'm picking Talbot round 1 TKO against Ronnie Barcelos. There's a
Yeah.
reason why he's a minus 1400 favorite right now. He's really
I
good.
hate talking about betting on it.
Yeah, the betting lines are fucking crazy anytime Peyton Talbot or Bo Nickel fight. But you know, yeah, I have Peyton
I
Talbot.
mean,
So,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean about betting odds. I prefer not to talk about them in prediction videos, but at the same time, yeah. I mean, Peyton Talbot. I mean, goes 10-0 against Barcelos. Barcelos' last fight against Quinones submission. I mean, you know, I think Barcelos is gonna try to figure out a submission against Talbot. Now, does Talbot knock him out on the feet before he can put anything together? Probably.
yeah,
Um,
I think so. He's also just younger. He's a lot younger, and Barcelos is 37. He's kind of on his way out too, and he also lost to Kyler Phillips. And we've seen how good Kyler Phillips is against Rob Font, where he proceeded to do nothing on the feet the entire fight and just lose. So
he could have won that fight. So.
yeah, I'm gonna pick Talbot early round knockout. He could honestly get a submission. I could see Barcelos going for like a takedown and getting guillotined. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it doesn't really matter how Talbot wins.
He's just gonna
Um,
win.
he's just gonna win.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Next fight then, because I mean, is what it is. I don't know who you're picking here, but I am picking Renier de Ritter.
Actually, I'm picking Rinya as well.
Yeah, I think he's gonna make, and I hate to say this, but I think he's gonna make Kevin Holland quit because we kind of see every time Kevin Holland gets kind of starts to get grapple fucked, you can almost mentally see where he kind of checks out and kind of realizes, yeah, I don't want to fucking do this shit right now. I'm good. Like it kind of happened against Delidsey. I know he had a broken rib or whatever. I I don't know. It's just kind of like I could see Kevin Holland catching him early, but I don't think that'll happen. That's his only real path to victory, in my opinion, is catching Renier early. And I think Renier's just gonna play the grapple game. I think he's gonna submit him in the second round, maybe the first. But yeah, I've got Renier de Ritter because I don't think he's gonna play that game on the feet with Kevin Holland because he knows Kevin Holland's dangerous, you know.
Yeah.
So
I think that Kevin Holland's fight IQ is not to be ignored.
yeah,
Like in the Usyk fight, I think he's better at 185. I don't think it's open and shut, but I think that I do think that um, Ritter figures out his finishes.
mhm,
Um, you know, and he has a very, very his one championship fights are you know incredibly, you know, definitely incredibly decisive. Um,
yeah,
his only losses are to Anatoly Malik, who is arguably one of the greatest fighters in the world.
mhm,
Um, you know, and and the Mearshart fight. People act like he was fraud checked when he
mm.
submitted Mearshart.
Well, I mean, the people who say it was fraud checked, I feel like they also ignore the first round where he dropped Mearshart badly at the end of it. They just want to say, well, oh yeah, well he was losing in moments to GM3, and it's just kind of like, yeah, I guess, but like he did drop Mearshart. Like if there was like another 10 seconds in that first round, he probably would have finished him, you know. And he literally submitted he GM3 Gerald Mearshart, you know. He fucking arm triangle Gerald Mearshart, you know? I don't know. So I could see him. I could see him beating Kevin Holland. My thing is I hope he doesn't get caught early because I think Kevin Holland is that's his path to victory is catching him early, you know? So
Um, I mean, the times that Kevin Hahn's been able to do that, though,
yeah,
have been responsive. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like Alexei, put him right on the ground, and Hahn was able to convert that into
an arm bar.
arm.
That was a sick fight to watch, by the way. That was a lot of people ignore that fight because they talk about how bad the card was. So I think was that on 302 or was that on 303?
That was on 302.
Yeah,
It
a lot
wasn't a
of
bad
people
card.
people talk
It
shit
was
about the
that was the
card.
one. With
Um,
the corrupt judges, we were just
yeah,
talking about.
but I thought that was a really fucking sick submission. I was literally like cringing when I saw his arm bend the other way. It was that was interesting to
Yeah,
watch,
I,
but you
I
know,
was wondering because Alan got put right on the ground, and I was like, motherfucker, I beat you.
out of
And
all the
then
all the
he
people he's fought,
did.
you know, like he fought MVP and he's fought JDM and he's fought all these other guys.
Yeah,
I
I don't
didn't
think
think
he's.
Oleksiejczyk was going to be the guy to put him down that badly, you know?
Yeah, but then armbar
Yeah.
by Holland. Yes, I don't think Holland is anywhere near. Almost like Hamzat's nowhere near as good at 170.
Yeah.
We're in Strickland.
Yeah. Up the card, Benil Dariush versus
Well, we just
Moicano.
week where yeah,
What's up?
both of us are taking Oh, just to be clear, I was just
Rinya,
gonna
yeah.
say we're both thinking Rinya Guru.
I've got Moicano. I think he's gonna do Dariush the same way he did Jalen Turner. That's just kind of how I see. Like I see it mentally in my mind, like playing out a similar way where Dariush maybe hurts him early, and then Moicano survives, and in the second round he runs his grappling.
See, I mean, I have Moicano as well, um, and but I see it differently. I see Moicano doing to Dariush what has been done to Dariush, which is Dariush gets put on the ground, um,
Yeah,
you know, and Moicano movements him off. You
yeah,
know, Moicano might not sleep him, but just like Moal sleeps me, I mean, you know, he, gets him full mount and ground and pounds.
yeah. Also, a lot of people are saying like a lot of people who are like picking Beneil Dariush, they are conveniently ignoring the fact that his last two fights are TKO losses. His chin definitely isn't the same anymore, and he's coming off a year layoff.
And it's so beyond compromised.
Yeah,
People
and
would be like, and people act like Moicano, oh, he's not the striker that all there is with his three. Not that he has to,
yeah,
you
he
know?
doesn't have to be that level of striker. And also, his you know, his momentum needs to be talked about. He's on a 4-fight win streak, and he beat Jalen Turner, and then turns around and beats Benoit Saint Denis. In my opinion, 10-7'd him in the first round, and people are like, "Oh, well, it was a doctor's stoppage." I was like, "Yeah, Benoit was gonna go fucking blind if Moicano and hit him anymore." And they're like, "Yeah, well, he lost the second round." And he's like, Moicano knew what he was doing. He was gonna let the second round play out. They were gonna go to the corner, and they're gonna look at Benoit and be like, "Yeah, you cannot fucking fight. You probably can't even see right now." Like people acting like him losing the second round was Moicano making mistakes. He was letting the second round play out because he knows that Benoit's gonna get stopped going into the third. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got Moicano round 2 TKO. I think he's gonna chin Dariush badly. I could even see him putting him out cold, but we'll see. So, you also have Moicano?
Of course.
All right. Up the card then. We might disagree here. Yuri Prohaska versus Jamal Hill. I have Jamal Hill round 2 knockout.
Um, I have Jamal Hill actually
Okay.
as well, and I don't like to, because as I say, I don't like to bet over under. I mean, I don't like to, the promotion of betting
Mhm.
over unders as you know, well, fuck me, yeah. But yeah, no, I do have Jamal Hill. I think that even by first round knockout,
Mhm.
given that I think that Yuri um, has been a bit broken after that second Ferreira loss.
And to
Um,
let's call it what
yeah.
it is. That was a late stoppage if we're being completely honest with ourselves.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that should not have gone on as long as it did. And he also
dude.
relies on his chin too much in his fights. He did it against
Yeah, no,
Reyes, he did it against Pereira, he did it against Rakic. And now
yeah,
that he's gotten
and
so much damage, I trust Jamal Hill. I'd honestly say like a 1-2 down the pipeline is going to fucking put Yuri out cold.
now I think that Yuri might come out hot, um, and and try to fight differently, try to fight, in a way that he feels, he can knock out, you know, he can knock out Jamal first. I think Jamal, if he's smart, is gonna be waiting for that. Um, I think Jamal is going to attempt to control distance. And yeah, they're basically, Jamal's 6'4", 79-inch reach.
Mhm.
Is like 80-inch reach is 6'3". But you know, I think that you know Jamal with Jamal throws greater volume. Um, Now one thing that Yuri will shoot takedowns. Um, but Jamal Hill, you know he has knockout power. I mean,
Mhm.
his in his last, he was knocked out by Ferreira, and he was knocked out by Paul Craig a long time ago. But he beat Glover to share for the belts. He
Knocked out
you
Thiago
know
Santos.
Joey Santos, Johnny Walker in the first round, Jimmy Crute in 48 seconds into the first round. Ovin St. Preux, the time when Ovin St. Preux was no joke. Um, yeah, and yeah, he's Jamal Hill does have a future, I believe,
I like the
in
shit
the
that he's
UFC.
talking because he makes the rematch in the Pereira fight that much more interesting. You know?
If they're, Uncle Ives next, but
Hey, but bro, hear me out. Tell me this isn't something the UFC would do. If Jamal Hill goes out there and starches Yuri in the first like 30 seconds of the fight, completely just fucking starches him out cold. They don't like Ankalaev. I could see them fucking over Ankalaev and giving Jamal Hill a shot because of the shit he's been talking and because, they don't want, Pereira, who's their star, to get, wrestle fucked to a decision or something like that. I could honestly see the UFC
I,
being fucked up and
I
doing
think
that.
Uncle Ives could outstrike him.
I don't think he's outstriking Pereira. No. Maybe if
I
he's
mean,
mixing it up, maybe. But I still would I'm still gonna pick Pereira to beat Ankalaev. I think he could catch him.
I think we might have to bet on that once that fight's made.
We'll have to make a bet on it then.
But yeah, I'm taking Hill.
Yeah, me too. All right. Umar versus Marab. Fucking lose-lose situation for the fans after this one. I
Well, actually,
What's
I'm
up?
gonna say this, right? So I've watched every single goddamn regional fight of both of these people. Um, I was just researching card after card. This is one of those fights where if you um if you try to see this fight in your head, it's extremely difficult to visualize.
I could see Umar. I have Umar round 3 TKO, and I think my reasoning for that, and I can see this happening, is look at the knockout with Ronnie Barcelos against Umar Nurmagomedov. It's a left hook, or not a left hook, a left hand down the pipeline, and he sat him down badly. What does Marab always seem to have a weakness to? You watch his Cejudo fight and his Marlon Moraes fight, it's that left hand. I can see this so clearly. Marab, when he fights people who are his height and um he for some reason just doesn't guard his it would be his right side, but it would be the left side. It'd be like the left hand coming from Umar. So I have Umar like a left hand TKO probably. I think he's gonna hurt Marab multiple times in this fight.
Um, yeah, I think that say guys his size though, Umar is a bit bigger.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think that, I mean, you gotta remember, Umar, I mean, yeah, the Rayoni Barcelos knockout for sure. Um, yeah, I mean, his finishes though are against kind of lesser opponents. Um,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah, but my counter to that would be
the
where's Merab's finishes other than Marlon Moraes?
I mean,
Like I know he had that
well,
spinning back fist against.
Marlon Moraes is a much stronger opponent than Rayoni Barcelos, in my opinion.
That's fair. But at the time that I beat him, I'm pretty sure it was like during. It was either right at the start of or during Marlon's kind of downfall, where he went on like a six or so fight loss streak. Hold on, Moraes. Let me double check. Marlon Moraes. Where he had, yeah, it was right in the middle of his. I think it's, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you count the robbery against Jose Aldo, a lot of people are saying that's a robbery. Then it would be like an 8-fight loss streak. It was right in the middle of that, when he was kind of on his way out, So, it is what it is, but yeah, I don't know. So Marlon is I think if you're getting hurt by Marlon when he's on his decline, I think Umar is a lot of people know this, but I do have to say this because some people don't know. Umar is a really good kickboxer. Like he's really good, and he's training with Islam and Habib, so he does have that grappling and that wrestling that they have. But it's like each one of these guys that keep coming up after Habib, it was Islam. Islam's more well-rounded. Now Umar's coming up. Umar's extremely well-rounded. Like he can wrestle and he can strike really well. And then it also poses the question, what about Usman if he comes into the UFC because Bellator's dead now? If he comes into the UFC, what's going to happen there? These guys are just like evolving after each one of their the person before them came, because Khabib was just a wrestler. He ended up developing his striking near the end of his game, but he was just mainly, as most people see it, a grappler. And then Islam came in and he's well-rounded. He was hanging with Poirier on the feet. And I think Umar's just this next generation of he's a really good wrestler, and he's probably going to be one of the better kickboxers in the division. So, I don't know. I just don't see Merab winning this. I don't necessarily think Merab's going to be able to control Umar for.
I would say it's going to be very close, right?
Yeah, I could see them giving it to Umar though.
I don't see it. Yeah, me too.
I could see a finish for Umar though. That's what I'm visualizing right now. Is I see that Merab gets hurt by people who are around his height, because O'Malley was so much taller than him, and he was, during the O'Malley fight, he was moving all over the place, so it was kind of hard for O'Malley to find his shot on him. But I think Umar is going to be able to find that shot, and that's why I have Umar round 3 TKO. You also have Umar?
I do have Umar, but I don't think it's going. I think it's probably going to decision.
Yeah.
You got to remember that Umar is, he's 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 only 2 inches taller.
Yeah.
With what, 1 inch each advantage.
Yeah. So you have Umar. Do you think it's going to be unanimous or a split for Umar?
No. It depends. It depends on, because Merab will shoot takedowns, and he'll shoot takedowns not to get a submission. He'll shoot takedowns not even to land them. a few takedowns to wear you out. He
Yeah.
shot how many did he shoot against Serghei?
Didn't he shoot like, I can't remember exactly
He
how
shot,
much, but he shot like 30 or something like that. Wasn't it something like in the
um,
range of the 30s
he
he
was
shot?
16 and he didn't land any.
Yeah.
Trying to think. How many did he shoot? 50, yeah, 50, 45 Peter Young. He shot 49 takedowns but ended only 11
Mhm.
against Peter Young. Um, yeah, I mean, that was an absolute. I mean, he finished Marlon Moraes by knockout. I mean, there were, was it John Dodson that
He fought John Dodson, but that one went to a decision. His
yeah,
only other like real finish is before the UFC, and it was Rafion Stotts. He had him
yeah,
with a spinning back fist.
yeah, that was, 15 seconds in the first round. No, and he had an armbar submission win for that
Yeah.
in ROC. Um, yeah, he was ROC champion, and then, um, yeah, I mean, he, he does, yeah, I mean, and I mean, I get his righteous indignation, when it comes to, having to fight so early against,
Umar.
against, like, yeah. I mean, whereas Omat, it's like, where's his layup title shot? It's
Yeah, and I
probably
get why he's mad, because if you look at his fight, his path to the title, he had to go through Casey Kinney. He had to go through John Dodson, Cody Stamann, back when Cody Stamann was actually a good fighter. Um, sorry, no hate to Cody Stamann. Marlon Moraes, Jose Aldo, Peter Yan, Henry Cejudo. That was his run to the title. And then if you look at Umar's run to the title, Umar had to beat a debuting guy, or like, well, if you really want to go back to when he first got into the UFC, yeah, he has like Brian Kelleher on there. He had to fight Barcelos. He had to fight Bexot, and then he gets not necessarily a layup, but I wouldn't call Corey Sandhagen a layup, but he gets a fucking free title elimination bout after having 0 ranked wins, you know. So I can understand why Merab is mad, and he's going into this fight emotional. So I would favor Umar to beat him.
I
So
mean, there's fighters, there are some fighters that fight emotional, and they do it well. Ryan Battle, um, being one, um, I'd say, definitely not Kevin Holland, but, you know,
Hamza is one of those guys
but,
who gets mad and then he gets really good. He uses his emotions positively towards his fighting style. You know, he might be angry, but that's just more reason for him to go out there and ragdoll people. And you could make the argument for Strickland because, you know, you think that he won the Dricus Duplessis fight, and Dricus was talking shit to him about his childhood, so he probably went into that fight with a lot of emotions.
well, nah, they were cool with that fight. I mean, I don't think
Well, at
that's.
one point, Strickland was definitely very upset about
Oh
it.
yeah, no, for sure. Alright, so main event.
Main event. I've got Islam. I think it's going to be a close, competitive decision. Maybe even some people would call robbery, but I think Islam's going to win a decision.
I think Islam wins the decision as well. I think that now one thing that's interesting is that
This
despite being
does this not also give Edwards versus Usman levels of like vibes? Like, to me, this kind of gives Edwards versus Usman 2 level vibes, where it's like their first fight was a long time ago. Both guys are completely different fighters now, and you know,
Yeah,
I'm
but what we know about Edwards is that he needs a fucking earpiece.
from his
You know,
coaches.
from his corner. Yeah. No, neither one of these guys need any such thing. I think that it's interesting that Serghei, despite being 3 inches shorter, has a 2-inch reach advantage, which matters because of the way that he wrestles.
Yeah,
Now, striking wise, I think that both have definitely improved a lot.
yeah,
You know, I think that you know, if you look at like their most, if you look at, for example, Saryukin's most recent loss,
to
you
Gamrot.
know, to Gamma, um, you know, and you know, you go, you know, 5-round fight, 40, bananas, 48-27. I don't know. What do you think?
Um, I'm not too sure. I would just say, like, what do I think about the fight, or him versus Gamrot?
Well, yeah, that, I mean, versus, that fight, yeah. So
Um,
you can,
Saryukin versus Gamrot. I'm pretty sure a lot of people called it a robbery when it first happened, but I'm not gonna lie. It's been a while since I've watched the fight, and what I've heard Guru say about it is he says that it really comes down to the fourth round, where um, if the judges think that I can't remember exactly what he said, but if somebody got dropped by something or if they were just caught off balance, that's really what the round comes down to, and that really decides the fight. Because other than that, I'm pretty sure it's even 2-2. Um, I'm not sure exactly. It's been a while since I've watched the fight. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really remember it too much. I remember thinking it
um,
was a robbery when it first happened, though.
I just rewatched it. It does come down to that one single round. Um, I think that, I hate calling. See, Gamrot, um, in 6 takedowns, Gamrot had less than 5 minutes of control time. Um, and that was, I believe those were on a single round. Um, Saryukin, he was able to, the round that Saryukin had 2 dominant rounds. There was a striking round where he had a knockdown,
Yeah.
um, and then another where he had a takedown with about 1 minute 45 seconds of control time. Gamrot was able to get back to his feet. It's hard to call it a robbery, but it could be called one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Now that was 3 years after. That was 2022, so that's 3 years after the first fight between um,
I do want to
Islam.
say I think this is going to be closer than the first fight, because I think Arman has not only started taking his career a lot more serious, but he's improved leaps and bounds since his first fight with Islam Makhachev.
No, yeah, yeah, definitely. The first fight, dude, was you know, it was a 30-27. Um, one judge gave round to Armin, which I don't think was deserved. Um, I'd have to say that basically, um, you know, looking at these scorecards, yeah, I think the team so when the Dariush knockout and the Joel Alvarez knockout earlier by Armin Sardukian, and and the Charles Oliveira.
Should have been a unanimous decision, and hearing that from me is crazy because I fucking, if you know me, I love Charles Oliveira so much. Like he's my favorite fighter, like ever. And I thought it was robbery when I first watched it, but after rewatching it, it's a clear round 2 and 3 are Armin's. But like he's got like some sneaky good wins on his resume. Does Armin Sarukian? He has Matt Favola on there, Yoel Alvarez, Joaquin Silva, Dariush is on there, Charles Oliveira. Like he's yeah.
Well, in my mind, it's like a lot of his wins, are very. He's got a lot of finishes. Turcios and a lot of these guys. He's got a lot of knockout wins. That just simply is not going to happen with Islam.
And I don't think you're submitting Islam Makhachev. Like that's never happening.
No. And he's got a lot of knockouts as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like
he's not going to knock out Islam. So it's going to be a grappling fight like it was with Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was with Oliveira, rather. And the thing about that is, you look at Islam's fight for the belts against Charles Oliveira, where he did submit Oliveira. I mean Charles Oliveira has not been submitted many times.
He doesn't really get submitted. He just, maybe a lot of people will call him a quitter and whatnot. But he'll
Sorry?
I was just saying the last time he was submitted was Ricardo Lamas back in 2016 when he was at featherweight, I think it was. No, that was it was catchweight. So
yeah, that was before Islam.
Yeah.
And he does have I believe the most submissions in the entire UFC.
I believe 16 if I'm correct. Or is it?
Yeah.
It's 16 submissions, I think, and it's like 20 finishes. He has the most finishes, and like total. I think it's 20, and then I think submissions he has 16. So, yeah, I don't see Armin winning this. I see it being very competitive. I could see a split decision, but I think it's gonna go to Islam because I think
it shouldn't be a split decision.
I think there's gonna be one retarded judge who's gonna make it a split decision, just like with the Umar and Merab fight. I think we're gonna be plagued by a bad judge again, this fight.
I mean, if you look at Islam's UFC career, he has only 4, I believe, aside from the one Volkanovski, the early Volkanovski fight. So he's got 5 decision wins, all unanimous. He's got submission, TKO, submission, 3 submission streaks, and then TKO, which got him. I mean, he was on a He was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fight win streak before he got his title shot against Charles Oliveira.
To be fair, he did beat Bobby Green for a title shot, which is kind of bullshit.
I mean, but before that, he beat Dan Hooker, he beat Drew Dober, he beat Armin,
Yeah.
You know, Thiago Moises, he submitted Thiago Moises, submitted Dan Hooker, knocked out Bobby Green, submitted Udo, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and this is Bobby Green then, bro.
Bobby Green back when Bobby Green wasn't he was
King.
better back then, you know? Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go Islam via decision. I don't think
Yeah.
this fight ends in a finish. Maybe like a 5th round submission for Islam, but I don't see Arman being submitted by Islam because if he can get out of Oliveira's submission attempts, I think he can get out of Islam's.
Yeah. I agree.
All right, then that should about wrap it up, right?
Yeah, dude.
All right, sweet.
So how so are you gonna send me